Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Red Tool House. We want to continue our series on 11 things you consider before starting your homestead.
That's right, Kel. No. Yeah, so point number two. Point number one, of course, was define homesteading. Point number two is make sure your spouse is on board with it. If you don't have a spouse, then you can skip this step. But if you've got a girlfriend or a boyfriend or however that works out for you, if you've got somebody you're dragging along with you into your homesteading goals, make sure they're on board, right, Kel?
That's right.
All right. Talking about is your spouse on board? Obviously, I'm going to speak from a husband's perspective about my wife on board, and you can speak from the wife's perspective. But you know, unfortunately, we hear a lot of feedback that, and what we see on our Facebook forums, that sometimes the spouse isn't as on board as the other is. And so if this desire to go out and homestead, you know, we've talked about in our first point that we need to define homesteading, but we also need to make sure that our spouse is on board. So let's talk about our situation real quick so we can start there as a reference point. So yeah, I kind of think as our journey down homesteading actually started with you. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, we had been talking about, I mean, everybody's learning about how you know, the foods that we buy in the grocery store are loaded with chemicals, and we watched Food Inc. and never wanted to grocery shop again or eat out again. Obviously, that's not, you know,
yeah, we're not there.
We didn't do that, but
made us hyper aware of it, though.
But it made us very aware of, you know, what are we eating? What are we putting into our bodies? And I think it makes us even more aware because we have children. And so we're thinking, you know, what can we do to eat healthier? To, you know, we have this land. What can we do to provide our children with the best foods possible that we're able to grow or...
Yeah, and I think you came to me, if I remember, that wasn't a instant conversation to say, hey, we're going to do all this, we're going to take on a huge farm elements and have all these animals. It really was just that discussion and that light bulb moment to say, hey, we really need to look at this type of stuff and see. So, you know, you were kind of the facilitator of that, and then that got me into doing the research.
Yeah, but you were the one that called me from work one day and said, Kelly, bring the Xterra. We're going to get 3 pigs.
That's true, but we had chickens before that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I did kind of surprise you with the pigs because it was one of those. Hey, I found a deal. Which again, we've talked about that in the past. How that was a mistake to do that quickly. But yeah, we had chickens before that. Had them for a while and really liked the fresh eggs and of course, just starting to cut things out. So as we go to the sort of the Michael Pollan approach, stop shopping in the center of the supermarket and just go to the outside. So yeah, we kind of started there, and then that just kind of snowballed. So that's kind of how we both fell into that pretty quickly. Now, you know, I've come to you with some harebrained ideas, and you kind of look at me like, yeah, I'm not sure. And of course, you've come to me and say, I want this animal, I want that animal, I want that animal, and I say, well, can we eat them? And you're like, no, we can't. so
but they're so cute.
Yeah, exactly. So we've had some back and forth there, and obviously some good discussion and good debate, which is good. I mean, yeah, we can't. I don't expect you to fall directly in line with me, and you don't expect me to fall directly in line with you. Exactly. But it's that compromise there. So obviously we kind of fell in line pretty good there, and I feel that we're both kind of shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand as we go forward on this, and the support's pretty awesome there for both of us on both sides. But what would your advice be? Maybe you're talking to the wives that are watching that maybe their husband's like, man, I work a full-time job, I don't want to take on something else that I'm not interested in. You know, how would you approach that from that perspective?
Well, I mean, you definitely have to have the conversations. You need to talk about why you want to do it and what you want to do, and even if the other person is not on board, I mean, if it's a garden that you want to do, I think you can start small and just see if it's your thing. I mean, are you enjoying it? Are you able to do it on your own? I really feel like you need to be together on this because it's going to be so difficult trying to do everything on your own. I mean, there is no way that I would have been able to do what we're doing on my own.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
and vice versa.
So for us and what we have tried, I really think that we both need to be together on that.
Yeah, and you look at those situations where a spouse says, "I'm not really interested in that. I don't want to do that." And again, all the circumstances are different. If you're in a high-rise downtown, and I'm trying to convince you as my wife to say, "Hey, let's move to the country," and you're like, "No, I love living downtown. I love this. I love that." That's going to be a lot tougher than, okay, we're kind of already suburban or rural.
Right.
Let's just take some of these projects on. So obviously that's going to be different in those situations. But I think it's interesting when you look at an approach and somebody says, "No, I don't like the idea. I don't want a homestead." I think if you can have an amicable conversation just to say, "Okay, you said you don't want a homestead. Can you give me reasons why you don't?" And maybe we can address those.
Or even, again, defining what homesteading means to you, and not just up and selling everything and moving to a farm, but, what does it mean for you? Why do you have that interest?
Yeah. Well, I think about, a friend of ours was talking to me, and we were at dinner a couple weeks ago, and he said, my wife really doesn't want to be tied down with the animals and what that means to have to stay around. She wants to travel. They're at a season in their life where, they've got disposable income. They can travel more. Right. So he wants to kind of buckle down and do the homesteading stuff. She would like to kind of get out on the road more. And, that's a tough one to overcome. But, I would challenge him in that situation to say, okay, have the animals, but figure out, can you get a support
right.
structure with friends and neighbors and partnerships there where you can say, hey, we're still going to be on the road. We're still going to be able to take our 4 vacations or 2 vacations, whatever you take, and we've got somebody to do some farm setting.
It's totally doable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those compromises come in
Somebody
handy.
like that, I think you're not going to want to get a milk cow or something that's going to require you to be home twice a day to milk, but yeah, you can definitely do farm animals and still vacation. I mean, we vacation, and we have a family that comes and takes care of our animals. They live close by, and it's not a big deal for them. And but yeah, it's totally doable. So you just need to have that conversation.
What about when you come to a point where the spouse says, absolutely not, I'm not doing any of this, I don't want to do that? What is your advice for the, what do you do? Do you say, okay, I'm going my way, you're going your way? How would you advise that?
If it's absolutely not, then it's absolutely not. Right. I mean, it just doesn't happen. For whatever reason, that time, they're not ready. Mm-hmm. And unless you can come to an agreement, it's not for you at this time.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I don't know that I would ever endorse someone saying, well, I want to do this, you want to do that, let's just go our separate ways because we can't.
Your spouse, your significant other is more important than that.
Absolutely.
And so you need to make that decision.
Yeah,
and if they are putting their foot down, then...
Like you said, it may just be a change in season of life. It may just be, okay, let's put this plan on hold. And again, if I was trying to convince you to move somewhere or do something totally different, I wouldn't play heavy-handed. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. I would just simply... maybe subtle clues, maybe hey, here's some positives of that, or hey, let's go look at so and so, they're doing the same thing, let's go. And again, if you were receptive to that, okay, yeah, that looks kind of cool, maybe that changes your mind. But if you say no, I really don't want, then that's where you got to come to that compromise. And again, as husband and wife, we're to try to serve one another. So if you are sticking your foot in the ground saying absolutely not, I'm not budging, then you need to have some sort of compromise. And obviously I need to have some compromise, not to say no, we're going to do this. I'm the husband, we're going to do this.
It's not worth it. I mean, it's not worth it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think about it. If you say, I'm going to move you, I can't move you out in the sticks because we live in the sticks, but if we could find further out sticks and say, I'm going to move you further out, and you're like, no, I don't want to leave I don't leave what we've built, I don't want to leave all this, I don't want to leave family, I don't want to go to Alaska and do that. That's probably the thing I could do, is try to get you to move to Alaska. Yeah. You don't like cold weather.
I'm putting my foot down.
Yeah, so.
Even though you made me cry when we were going to move out here.
That's true, yeah.
But I didn't put my foot down.
That's right, yeah.
I was willing, but scared.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. When we've told that story before, you definitely didn't see my vision. I wouldn't say that you didn't have vision, because you do. You're very creative, but you didn't see my vision, and I didn't do a very good job of casting it. And all the mounds of garbage on the property didn't help.
It didn't help, but like I have always said, if I had not seen your brother and his wife do the same thing the year before, and the difference that they made in their property.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah.
I would have not seen any vision at all.
Yeah, that was actually divine. There was divine intervention there, that we were able to see Thad and Jenny do so well with their place and clean it up. And then, a year later we bought ours, and I think we both saw that hey, we can see beneath and beyond all this garbage and trash to be able to envision
now
something.
Now our timeline was a little shorter in our vision.
It was, yes. Here we are 17 years later and still cleaning up in some areas and still building what we want to build. But
it's much better.
Oh, it is, absolutely. Absolutely.
So join us next time as we continue our discussion on 11 things to consider before homesteading.
All right, take care, everybody.